Here's something wild. Christianity has been accused of being too sad, and then also too happy, or too violent, but also too passive, too pessimistic, but also too optimistic. Which is it? Chesterton laughs and says, exactly. The faith lives in tension between these extremes, in paradox. And that's not a weakness. That's actually its genius. And that's why we're here. This series is called Theology 101. Heavy books, simple brains. My job here is to take that big, heavy idea, which we're taking from G.K. Chesterton's Orthodoxy today, and we want to make it clear and simple and help it be useful to you today. So with that in mind, meet G.K. Chesterton, a literal giant of a man. He was like 6'3" and was over 300 pounds. A writer with the wit of a comedian and the heart of a philosopher. In 1908, he published Orthodoxy. It was his answer to critics who said, all right, well, you've teared down all of our modern ideas. What do you believe then? So Chesterton didn't just write a little thesis in the newspaper. He gave them an adventure story. That story was how he wandered through doubt and skepticism and stumbled into the strange, thrilling sanity of Christianity. And this was years before he officially became Catholic. Why does it matter today? Because in the early 1900s, Christianity was written off as irrational, outdated, oppressive. Sound familiar? Chesterton's response was bold. The creed isn't a straitjacket. It's the only thing flexible enough to hold truth together without snapping in half. The first thing Chesterton noticed was something strange. Everyone attacked Christianity, but always for opposite reasons. He writes, it was attacked on the grounds of its mournfulness by one set of people, and on the grounds of its jollity by another. It was abused for being too pessimistic and abused for being too optimistic. It was accused of being too fierce and accused of being too weak. If the same faith is accused of being both too sad and too happy, too meek and too violent, maybe that means it's hitting the center of the truth. He saw this right in the cross itself. Two beams going in opposite directions, nailed together in one. Chesterton says, it has a paradox at its heart, for at its heart is a collision and a contradiction. Yet the cross can extend its four arms forever without altering its shape because it has a paradox in its center. It can grow without changing. The cross unites opposites, heaven and earth, justice and mercy, God and man. That's Christianity, holding both together without breaking. Chesterton warned us, virtues are gone mad because they have been isolated from each other. Love without truth becomes mushy. Truth without love becomes cruel. Courage without humility becomes arrogance. And it hits home for me. I hate being too rigid with my schedule. I need a system where I can lock into deep work and focus. But I also need that wiggle room to follow that fire that the Holy Spirit just throws on me out of nowhere. But same with my diet and my workouts. I want to work out 3 to 5 times this week, or I want to intermittent fast from 11 to 7. But I also need that flexibility to adjust when life throws curveballs. It's a fine line, and I get it wrong a lot. But that's the paradox. Chesterton points that we need both. We need order and freedom, structure and spontaneity. That's where the real sanity lies. Chesterton puts it like this. The poet only asks to get his head into the heavens. The logician seeks to get the heavens into his head. And it is his head that splits. He's not against reason. He's warning that reason without humility drives us mad. The paradox of faith, reason, and mystery, logic, and wonder keeps us sane. So Christianity isn't avoiding extremes. It's the one world view strong enough to embrace them both. And that's what makes it thrilling. So paradox ironically keeps you sane, and wonder keeps you joyful. Chesterton says existence itself is a fairy tale. Reality is God's magic trick. Kids get this better than adults. They never tire of repetition. Do it again, they yell. Chesterton writes, because children have abounding vitality. They always say, do it again. The grown-up does it again until he is nearly dead. Grown-up people are not strong enough to exult in monotony, But perhaps God is strong enough. Perhaps he says every morning, do it again to the sun, and every evening, do it again to the moon. That's the heart of his insight. We haven't outgrown wonder. We've sinned and we've grown old. As Chesterton puts it, our Father is younger than we are. And I see this every day in my daughter, Sophia. I love her imagination. She wants to play with me all day, every day, and she wants to play every single game. Her creativity runs absolutely wild, and it fills my heart and drives me stalkering mad within 3 minutes. As a dad, I have to sit back and remember she has her whole life ahead to be an adult and grow weary of wonder, to know when to speak and when to be quiet. But right now, she's a fountain of imagination. And God's asked me to shepherd that. So I try at least to turn to gratitude. I remind myself that I'm lucky to parent her in this season, grateful for her intelligence and her imagination, and I do my best to embrace it. Chesterton pushes this further. The test of all happiness is gratitude. Children are grateful. When Santa Claus puts in their stocking toys or sweets, could I not be grateful when he puts in my stocking the gift of 2 miraculous legs? If you can wake up and see life itself as a stocking stuffer from God, the sunrise, your children's laughter, even your daily bread, you're living orthodoxy. You're living wonder. You're living childlike faith. That's seeing life not as a dull machine, but as a fairy tale written by God, where gratitude is the only sane response. So Chesterton opens orthodoxy with a warning. Be careful of the person who thinks they've got it all figured out. He writes, the madman is not the man who has lost his reason. The madman is the man who has lost everything except his reason. That sounds a little backwards, but he's onto something. The insane person is not the one with no logic. He's the one who only has logic, one tiny idea that explains everything, and no room left for mystery, wonder, or love. As I said, I love this quote from him. The poet only asks to get his head into the heavens. The logician seeks to get the heavens into his head, and it is his head that splits. That's the trap of modern thinking. We think we can cram the universe into a neat theory. Science explains it all. Psychology explains it all. Wait, no, hang on. Politics, that's where I'm gonna find all of my truth. But life is too big, it's too strange, it's too beautiful for one idea. Chesterton says Christian is the sane person. Why? Because we accept both reason and mystery. We use our minds, but we also admit that we're not God. Think about it. The creed itself is paradox and mystery. One God in 3 persons, Jesus, fully God and fully man. Those aren't contradictions, those are really big mysteries. And it's living inside those mysteries that keeps us sane. If you've ever tried to control every detail of your life, you know how exhausting it is. GK says that's what happens when you try to control all reality with reason. Your head will split, literally. Okay, maybe not literally, but the Christian doesn't have to worry about your head splitting. We can breathe because we embrace the mystery. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. Christianity isn't a system that crushes life into boring rules. It's a paradoxical, wonder-filled adventure. One that, ironically, because of that, keeps us sane. And it also keeps us grateful. So, funny fact, G.K. Chesterton set out to invent his own philosophy before writing this book. But every time he thought he had some sort of original idea, he discovered that it was already in the creed. I did try to find a heresy of my own. And when I had put the last touches to it, I discovered I was just describing orthodoxy. So let me leave you with this. Where do you see paradox and wonder in your life? Maybe in holding discipline and mercy together as a parent. Maybe thanking God for something ridiculously ordinary, like your morning coffee. If you can find paradox and wonder in your faith, you've already stepped into the romance of orthodoxy. And that's not just heavy theology. That's real life.